We had 22 teams in action today and a lot of stuff happening across the league. Trae Young scored 41 points in three quarters. Siakam got a triple double. Luka got 35. Jokic put on Jokic-like numbers, like he's been doing throughout two seasons now. Pelicans beat the Trailblazers. Spurs just about lost to the Grizzlies. It was a very close game. And the Suns and the Warriors played out a real fun matchup. I did not expect this game to be close, but Jordan Poole really shining for the Warriors, and he made the game real close. But the Suns again in clutch coming up victors. So Chris Paul is
Yeah.
unstoppable in clutch. A lot of action across the league. So let's get started. We'll start off with the game that I didn't even mention when I introduced the when I started the episode. The Celtics and the Miami Heat. Now that was a team. These are two teams that have been in the top spot in the last 1 week or so.
Yeah.
Celtics were in the top spot 2 days ago, and now they're in fourth because they lost two consecutive games, losses to the Toronto Raptors and today against the Miami Heat. Fun game, close game, but Miami Heat were always going to be strong, especially since Celtics are now without one of their main guys, I would say, Robert Williams. He's really elevated himself this season. He's having a career here in terms of points, rebounds, blocks, minutes per game, and everything. He's been a revelation for them, I would say. I mean, while Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown take all the credit and the highlights and the spotlight is always on them, this guy has been really good on defense. And we've spoken about him several times this year as well, right? I mean, can he elevate himself to be the big guy that the Celtics have been lacking in the last few years? Like this was the one missing piece. And it seemed like they had found him. And it seemed like he was ready to take up that role and he was doing well. And now he's out. Probably for 4 to 6 weeks. The evaluation today says that he might be back for the second round of playoffs.
If they get
How
there.
does this, if they get there? Yes, exactly. Because the first round is not going to be easy. They're currently in fourth. They could finish third. It's very close. They could finish first. Who knows, right? What are the teams you would look to avoid if you're the Celtics right now so that you can get to the second round of playoffs?
Just not looking at the table, open-ended.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that you won't face your top three, that you won't face Philadelphia, Miami, and Milwaukee, the remaining 6 teams out there.
So there goes not looking at the table. They could. I think they'd want to avoid Toronto. Toronto's dangerous in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You don't want to take them on. And they're another team that I can't say they're. Well, I guess you could say they are peaking at the right time. I think they've been on
10 wins out of the last 12, by the way.
On a hot streak. Yeah, exactly. And I think in FVV they've found validation of their decision to move on from Kyle Lowry and mutually one of those rare mutual separations. Because FVV has done well. I think their squad has stepped up. Siakam initially wasn't available. He missed a bunch of games. But I mean, since he's come in, he's been on a tear. I keep saying it. He's the Black Sabonis, but he gets wins. That's pretty much the best way to describe him. He's been unbelievable. God bless my fantasy league. So Toronto is definitely a team to avoid. You know what? I think the rest of God bless them if they face Brooklyn. That's going to be a tough matchup. But an exciting one. I think that'll be quite interesting to see how. Yeah, because they lack rim protection. Okay, but what they really need against the Nets is perimeter protection and guarding the mid-range. So basically perimeter and players who fit into the zone very well. That they have. So it'll be an interesting matchup to see how they fare against the Nets, but it's not something that they should seek out, right? Who should they want to face? I think they should be okay facing the Hornets. They should be okay facing the Cavs. And relatively okay facing the Bulls in comparison to the rest of the bunch.
I agree.
Because everyone, like Atlanta, who's sitting pretty in 10th place right now, that's not a team you really want to face in a playoff series game after game.
True.
And Boston's just as hostile, if not more, than New York. You don't want to give Trae Young that energy.
Yep. That was exactly what I was coming to next, because the Raptors are now in 6th spot, level on wins against the Chicago Bulls, so they might as well jump to 5. But below them, I'm looking at the 7, 8, 9, 10 spot. So you'll have the Cavs play the Brooklyn Nets in the first play-in game, and you would assume that the Brooklyn Nets should win that game, right? That leaves Cavs taking on the winner of the Hornets versus the Hawks. Now I'm looking at the Atlanta Hawks. They've been an interesting team. Nobody's really rating them much, but nobody rated them last year as well. They made this incredible run. Is there a path for the Atlanta Hawks this season as well? I know that's going to be a tougher path this time, but You think they'll make the playoffs? First of all, they just need to beat two teams. They need to beat the Hornets and probably they need to beat the Cavs. That is possible, right?
At
And
this
then what
point, I
next?
think they'll beat anyone. The way Trae Young's playing, he's playing like
Yep.
he's possessed.
Yep.
Because every day we talk about, because there's a big MVP clash, then there's Lucas doing his thing and he's lighting up the league, and Jokic drops big numbers. And somewhere in there, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. But I see it because he's the best player on my fantasy league. That Trae Young's been killing it. 40 plus is a joke to him at this point.
Yep.
And he's just been on a tear. So I think at this point they'll beat just about anyone. The weird part about the Eastern Conference is the table toppers, so to speak, with the exception of the Bucks and maybe the Celtics, if you can call them toppers. Everyone's had a bit of a topsy-turvy run. They suck right now. And then you look at all the way through to the 10th, right? I'm looking at their win-loss. Let's say last 10 games. I'm on ESPN. 8-2 for the Raptors, 7-3 for the Nets, 8-2 for the Hornets, 7-3 for the Hawks. This is 6, 8, 9, and 10. And that's how they're playing. So these guys are dangerous right now and carrying the right kind of momentum. Bulls are absolutely not. Miami are again very shaky. At the top. I think the Cavs can the Hawks can take on just about anyone to get to their playing spot. Now, if they're playing the Hornets, it's actually an interesting matchup. I wouldn't put it past the Hornets to spring a surprise on someone, but I would still favor the Hawks. So it'll be a nice tight matchup. It'll be kind of like when Lakers face the Warriors, where you'd think with the firepower that the Lakers have, it's an easy win, but with Steph Curry around, you never know. So it'll be one of those matches, but let's say the Hawks get through, right? So then they play who?
Cavs or the Nets.
Cavs or the Nets, yeah. That's but you know what?
The Cavs are pretty short-handed right now.
Yeah, the Cavs are not. I don't think the Cavs will get to that game. I think it's the Nets. Wow, if the Nets get knocked out.
So it's a 7 versus 8. The winner will directly go through as a 7th seed. The loser will play the winner of the Hawks and the Hornets.
So right, sorry. Yeah, correct. So I don't think correct. So I don't think the Nets would get to that game.
Yes,
the Cavs would, and Hawks to the playoffs.
That's exactly.
By the way, wouldn't it be fun if Cavs knock out the Nets in that game? I think I was trying to get to that sentence and then I just fumbled up the rest. Would it be fun to see Cavs send the Nets back in?
Well, then the Nets have a second chance as well, right? They still have an opportunity to get the 8th seed.
Yeah, what a smack to the face to lose to this Cavs outfit to fall out. You're supposed to be the runaway favorites, and then you get
Kyrie back to Cleveland and then lose the game there.
You get dumped out by effectively you get dumped out by a very grossly depleted Cavs unit. You're only still in it because that's how the league designed it. But otherwise, essentially, it should have been an elimination match and you're gone. Boom. But you get a second chance with the whole world watching now because you fucked up one. Ouch.
Well, and if you get the 8th seed, you face Miami Heat instead of Milwaukee Bucks as the table stands today. And I think for the Nets, they'd prefer to face the Miami Heat.
Yeah, dangerous way to get there, though. It's a very dangerous way to engineer your way to that.
Of course. Everyone's looking to avoid the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think Brooklyn Nets should be looking to do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for the big bad favorites in the East. And if you're going to face the Bucks, do it in round 1. You don't want them building ahead of steam.
True. They get better and better. Yep. I want to talk a little bit more about Atlanta here. Now, supposing they make the playoffs as the 8th seed and they get knocked out against, say, the topper, right? Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, could be anyone. What next for Atlanta Hawks? Because they seem like they might want to rebuild here because they have Trae Young. They have a franchise player in Trae Young. But do you think they'll move across the pieces? Because John Collins, the start of the season, you remember, he was unhappy. He wanted a more expanded role. Not getting that here. Capella, the coach somehow is not playing him enough. He's playing around 22, 23 minutes nowadays. And it looks like their backup center, Okongwu, is really good. And he could probably be the replacement for Capella. And
he's young, he's done well.
Yeah, and these are two players that you'll get a lot of value in return, right? Do you see the Hawks going that way where you ship out Collins, ship out Capella, build around Trae Young? You still have Bogdanovic. You could probably ship him out or keep him however you want to deal with that. And do you see that the path for the Hawks here on?
I do actually, and I think they're well placed to make that leap. It's not a bad market. It's not a massive market either. But it's not bad. I think they have. Who do they have that they can move? They have Capella, who there's a possible case for him to be moved.
Yeah, and a lot of teams would be interested in Capella, I think.
For sure. And then you've got. It's also not a very daunting contract to take on. Anything under 20 mil for a guaranteed starter in a position where it's becoming tougher and tougher to find talent. Like just ask Boston, Portland, any one of these teams. It's tough to find the kind of big man that these guys need. When you have a mercurial backcourt, you have a great wing. You don't exactly need a Jokic type big man who's then going to take possession away from your own players. You need the good old rim protection, maybe some post moves, rebounding, Drummond but better. And that's Capella. It's Drummond but better. That's how about it? That's the one-liner. Drummond but better. Clint Capella. So there'll be takers for him for sure. And it's under 20 million. Where do you get that these days? So that combined with John Collins, that's another 22, I think he's 20.
He got a new contract, so I think it's slightly higher than that.
No, it's one of those, the stepped up contracts. So the year one is still somewhere around 22 or 24 or something. And then it moves up. So again, for John Collins, why not? Great player, young, has age on his side. A lot of teams would absolutely go for it.
Two-way player. He can good on defense, good on offense. Yep.
Somebody like Sacramento is also rebuilding. I think it'd be a good piece to add there alongside Sabonis, depending on where they play Sabonis. So they'll be takers for these two for sure. Another interesting situation they have is what do they do with Gallinari?
Right.
Good, but heavy contract, wrong side of 30. I think he turns 34 this year. Maybe they'd want to move him on. I don't know what his contract situation is. It's probably somewhere close to the end, but they could move. That's another piece that they can move.
It's one of those players where a contending team would like to have him off the bench kind of player, right? Like what Warriors are doing with, say, Otto Porter right now. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And again, so therefore you get a lot of takers there, right? So so I just checked. He's a free agent in 2023.
Okay.
So they've got another season on him. I think that's another movable piece then. So these are players they can move. There are some others that I don't think they're terribly reliant on, which isn't saying much. They're not too reliant on anyone outside of Trae Young these days for the win. Everyone contributes, but it's Trae all the way to get that win. It'll be a very, very interesting rebuild. I think in Okongwu, they don't have it's not like they found Shaq. I think they found their Robert Williams kind of guy, some reliable guy at the 5, which is great. So now you've got just 2, 3, 4 to fill, a bunch of shooters, maybe some players.
It's like you have Trae Young and you build everything you want around him. You have enough pieces to build a squad around him.
Yeah, so it's not unlike the Luka situation, minus the Porzingis headache for the Hawks. And they do have Bogdanovic, so I exaggerate a bit. And for some reason, they really like Quarter. He's kind of like their Connaughton, I guess, in terms of how much he's valued by the franchise. It's a good place to be, the Hawks franchise right now. I think if they get to the playoffs, make a good run this season, it's a good advertisement for players to come and play. And wouldn't you, as a star, love to come and play for Trae Young or play with Trae Young, because you will get set up very nicely and you'll get to load up on those stats. You can unlock all of those bonuses in your contract. It's a Trae Young and Luka, you can do worse as teammates.
Absolutely. Raptors, I know we briefly spoke about them, 10 wins in the last 12. And who would have guessed that the Raptors, with 5 games left in the season, are just 4.5 games behind the top spot?
Yeah.
It is incredible. Out of these 10 wins in the last 12, they beat the Suns, they beat the Celtics, and beat the Nuggets, 3 informed teams. So this is a team that I would definitely want to avoid in the playoffs. I think Boston Celtics, if they're playing the Raptors have a chance. I think the Bulls definitely will get knocked out if they play the Raptors. If that happens to be a 4-5 game, I don't think that'll happen. Who else is there? Philadelphia 76ers, they're not going to have it easy against the Raptors either. No. I think the Sixers are slightly stronger, but it's not going to be an easy series at all.
Yeah, I won't write it off as this is a done deal. If those two teams face off, it should be like Philadelphia by a mile, the favorites. But just can't write out the Raptors in that matchup.
And when you look at the Raptors team, they don't really have a star as such. It's a bunch of stars, right? You have Gary Trent Jr. shooting threes. He goes off on his day. He can get 35 points on his own. Van Fleet is someone who can get 35 points on his own. Siakam can get 35. Anunoby can get 35. So you have a bunch of 5 players who can get 35 on their own. Scotty Barnes got 35 in one game as well, I think. Well, he's a good defender, good player to have. He's a hustler, is one of those guys you would really want in your squad. And then off the bench, you have Boucher. You have Thaddeus Young, they have added now. Precious Achua is playing well. That's a deep unit. I mean, no big men, no stars, but you pretty much have everything. Uh, I would really want to avoid the Raptors if I could.
Won't anyone? I think this has been true since the season they acquired Kawhi. They've been a royal pain. In fact, even before that, when they had Lowry and DeRozan, and they had that whole unit going, spare a LeBron James team, I don't think any other team could quite find a way to best the Raptors. So they've been good for a while now and knocking on the door. And in fact, they even picked up a chip. It's a fantastic unit and by far my favorite coach in the league right now. So, and a great GM also who knows exactly the right moves to make, the right time. They got Kawhi at the right time, got a chip out of him. They kept Lowry at the right time, let him go at the right time. They got a chip out of Lowry. And then they moved on and gave the right platform to the younger ones. So you're the Van Fleets of the world and the Anunovis to step up, do their thing and shine. And it's great. I think their starting lineup is so good. It's like at least 2 or 3 of them are kind of, you would expect them to be 6th man of the year candidates, but they're at the Raptors, so they start and they do a really good job of it. At which point you're questioning yourself very philosophically, is one team 6th man of the year and other team starting lineup bedrock? And Siakam, man, he just swings between. What I love is based on what the team needs. He can, first of all, he plays tough defense. That's an underrated side of his game. He can be your 35, 10, 12, whatever guy on a night when you need him to be. Shoots threes every now and then. And then when you need him to, he can pick up the toughest defensive assignment, take it easy on the offensive end, and still hit you with a triple-double and the win. Like basically, the Raptors they took Timberwolves to the cleaners, and that's such an exciting firepower offense. They just stomped them down, held them to 100 basically, 102, and then they dropped 125 on their head. Everyone contributed. 6 players, I think, got 7 in double digits, and Siakam basically in this game. Said, all right, we've got to make sure Cat doesn't, go nuts. And they did. And largely credit to Siakam and everyone else who helped on that side of the floor. And then at the other end, he basically did a bam. He dropped a triple-double, one of those like low-key, this is like a Jason Kidd triple-double, like 12, 10, 13. But fantastic and great on defense. So I love how pliable he is. Moves with the team's needs. Didn't have a great shooting night, but still got the win. And he was probably.
Do you remember how bad Siakam was last season? And we kind of were guessing if that one season was a flash in the pan kind of season, it could happen.
Looks like that was the flash in the pan last season.
And he's improved so much since last season.
Give him most improved again.
I was going to ask that. Is there anyone who's won the most improved player like twice?
I don't know if should you even be eligible to win it twice?
I don't know.
Just by design, it seems like a bad idea. Just tank 1 year, kill it the next season and get it.
And in all of these teams we spoke about, we're kind of missing the Chicago Bulls. They sit in 5th spot, dangerously close to the 6th and 7th spot. I think they'll hold on to 5th or 6th. They'll make the playoffs directly without the play-in. This is a team on a downward spiral since at least 1.5 months now. And this was a team that was on top of the league for quite a while. Before Miami Heat came up and before Milwaukee Bucks started playing well and all of that. Now, with the Bulls, what's your hope for the Bulls this season? What's their best chances? How far do you think they can progress in the best case scenario? Realistically.
So they're in 5th. Don't know if they'll hold on. They might drop to 6th. I think that's about as far as they'll slide. But 6th, right? 6th. Who do they play if they're 6th?
Any of the top 4 again?
No, but which seed? Like 3rd seed, right? So
3rd seed,
3rd seed. So in all probability, Philadelphia, because they have a game in hand on Boston, but these guys you never know. So let's say Philadelphia. Let's say it's a lock. That is hellish for them. I don't think the Bulls can take on the Sixers. Celtics, I think they still have a shot without Celtics rim protection, and I think it'll be an amazing clash. I think these guys have such a maverick offense. the Bulls, and this despite the experience that DeRozan carries. So their offense against the tight Boston defense, it'll make for a great series. I don't think they can overcome it, but I think it'll make for a great series. If Vucevic can turn into Orlando Vucevic and they can get him enough usage rate, that's the challenge. Because look, he can turn into Orlando Vucevic. DeMar can be, well, this season's DeMar or the best DeMar in Toronto or whatever. Lavine can do his thing and everyone, but is there enough ball to go around? It's the same question that at some point the Timberwolves have to answer. Is what's your logic tree? What's your hierarchy of situational basketball and who holds the ball? I don't think that's something the Bulls have yet figured out.
And I don't think it's a problem right now, at least. I think Lavine has been remarkable and very happy playing the second guy, which I did not expect, honestly, at the start of the season. I thought Lavine was the main guy and DeRozan was coming in as a support guy. But no, DeRozan is the main guy here and Lavine is pretty happy to play the second fiddle, which was kind of surprising and good for him as well. Do you think, when did the Bulls start going down, right? I think it all started off with Lonzo's injury. And since Lonzo has missed games, the Bulls have been on a downward spiral. Lonzo now, there's no reports of when he's coming back, but initial reports said that he might be back just in time for the playoffs.
Now, which is great because he's young. It's not like there's going to be a lot of ramp-up period before he gets going.
Exactly. So does that change anything for the Bulls? Like, are they still a strong contender? If Lonzo comes back, can they be the Bulls that they were in the first part of the season?
Yeah, so if they have Lonzo back and if they have Caruso fit running and playing defense like he does off the bench.
And they got Patrick Williams back as well.
Yeah, it's a formidable unit because then now they play both ends of the court. Not quite as well as Boston. There is a talent gap still, despite everything that the Bulls have added. And a certain gap in synergy, which astonishingly the Celtics still have 4 or 5 years later also. So that's what makes it a fascinating clash. But I think the Celtics have enough to pull through in that series. And it'll be an upset for me if the Bulls win. So I think their best case scenario this year is like go to the playoffs, boom, bounce in the first round.
Do you think the Bulls can take down the Heat by chance, say if the Heat fall to third seed, which is quite possible and probable? And if, say, the Bulls have to face Miami Heat, is that a possible scenario where you see the Bulls going through?
You know what? I think they can. As dogged as the Heat are, I think they can, so long as the coach doesn't shit the bed in Chicago. If he does a Budenholzer from 2 years ago, problem. Because Miami they'll be all over these guys, both coaching and the unit on the floor. But against the Bulls, the best Miami can bring is grit and determination, unless they get hot from threes. If they get streaky, then bless them. But that's why there's a best of 7 series. I'd actually favor the Bulls in that series.
I think so too. I think that is the best case scenario for the Bulls, where I think although Heat might sit on top of the table and whatnot, they're still a beatable team. I feel they depend too much on Jimmy Butler, who's nowhere like the Jimmy Butler we saw in the bubble. I mean, he had a good game today, but that has not been the case throughout the season, right? I think Adebayo has taken over as the top guy in the team already.
Yeah, and it has to be. Unless Bam gets going, the Heat don't go anywhere. That's the problem.
Yep. You'll have one of those games where Tyler Hero scores 30-35. You'll have that. You'll have a Duncan Robinson flash in the pan. He'll get you.
You know what? I don't think we will. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think it happens.
1 in 7 games, it's quite possible. But that's pretty much it. You won't get it 4 times in 7 games. He's no Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder will get it twice.
Yeah.
But I think that's the best case scenario for the Bulls too. If they face the Heat, I would pick the Bulls. Tough series, but I'd still pick the Bulls.
See, the East is so bizarre. We're picking random teams to beat, to lose to mid-table teams, and then but they'll beat the top seed. The East, the best part about the East is the top seed today could be one of those random seeds like 3 games later. That's the beauty
exactly.
of it.
It became bizarre when you see that Brooklyn Nets are going to face the second seeded team. Brooklyn Nets are supposed to be on top of the table. They're going to sit on 7th or 8th.
Their worst case is they were supposed to be the second seeded team, not try and beat the second seeded team.
Exactly. So that's when it got bizarre. Fun game tomorrow. The Brooklyn Nets take on the Milwaukee Bucks. Possible first round showdown preview. That's going to be a game that's going to be intense. I think Giannis is in that playoff mode now. You saw it in the game against the Sixers as well, where he was not going to give up. He brought the Bucks. He literally dragged the Bucks to a win there.
Yeah, and the Nets will come with a grudge. I think it'll be a fire matchup. I can't wait.
I think so too. I think the Nets will show that if we had Kyrie fit last season, we would have been we could have beat the Bucks. That kind of a matchup.
I'll tell you what. I was watching highlights of the last 5 minutes of the Game 7 last season, and in the heat of the moment, I mean, it was nice to be reminded just how clutch the Bucks were in that game. I know the Nets did an excellent job, but there were a lot of ridiculously low percentage tough shots that just 20. Like Harden hits this mind-numbingly astonishing off the glass, off balance. That was a chuck. It wasn't even a shot. He just heaved it up there and went in. And he was playing on one leg, if you remember, in that entire series. So just pure adrenaline. But the Bucks, I think that was the game where they really stepped up as a unit because everyone made clutch shots. Giannis wasn't afraid. He got the ball. They didn't hack him. He backed down KD twice, thrice, hits a skyhook or a teardrop kind of floater. Middleton hit 2-3 big shots where he created his own shots. One of them was an easy feed, but two where he created his own shot off the dribble. Jrue Holiday had an unbelievable move, create separation, easy mid-range jump shot. And the Bucks just kept sinking them and kept putting pressure back on the Nets until finally Kevin Durant, being the good boy that he is, he decided to toe the line. And boom, there you go. There you have it. But that version of the Bucks is fearsome, especially how well they defended KD. KD still got a bunch of buckets, but they did a really good job on him. And it was everyone. It was PJ Tucker on some players, including the towing the line play. It was Jrue Holiday the play before that. Middleton had him the play before that, or vice versa, one of those in order. And everyone took turns and everyone did a great job defending him. They made it as tough as possible. Sometimes those go in, sometimes those don't. And then they went ahead and did it at the other end. And they shut down Harden, albeit mostly injured, just barely standing James Harden. But that's still James Harden, so they did a good job on him. Kyrie is a whole different ball game, though. That's the problem. It'll be fascinating to see how Kyrie does against this defense because they loaded inside and out. Now with Brook Lopez back, they've got Giannis and Lopez on the interior. They've got, but Kyrie's smart enough to pull the mismatch. He's smart enough to get them out of position, create separation, all of that stuff. I hope they get a Kyrie Giannis mismatch. I really want to see how Giannis fares against Kyrie's trickery because he does well usually against some other guys.
Yep. Looking forward to that. I'm sure we'll come back and talk about that game tomorrow. That's going to be the game that we'll be watching out for. But that's all on today's episode. As always, great chatting with you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Right, man. Cheers.
Bye.